when you say I'm attracting something specific, you have to activate something in your nervous system that already believes it's there. Because how affirmations work is that a seed is planted and then it grows. And if you don't believe it's already there, there's nothing to grow. There's no seed. So you have to find something inside yourself that you already have that you want to grow more.
Welcome back to another episode on Find Joy with Joyanne, the podcast that is all about helping you live and lead a life with joy. I'm your host, Joyanne Chan, and every Wednesday we are giving you access to the world's best and brightest minds in their fields on our show. Listen in as these leaders impart their wisdom, inspiration, and stories to empower you to live joyfully with intention, passion, and purpose, and celebrate the struggles and overcome the challenges we may face each day with the tools and insights that we are going to share with you. Whether you are looking to improve your relationship, find your passion, learn how to embrace the present moment, deepen your spiritual connection, or learn the magic of manifestation and law of attraction to attract more abundance, this podcast is here to guide you every step of the way. As your host, I am also challenging myself to dig deeper to learn and unlearn and ride along with you. We are not here to tell you how to live your life because it is your life. But this life is all that we have right now. So my friend, why not live our life to the fullest? So I hope these conversations and stories will guide and inspire you to live your life to your highest potential and a life that you are proud of as you continue to grow and evolve in your own journey. So if you are ready to start living a more passionate, purposeful, and joyful life, join us every Wednesday on Find Joy with Joyanne for inspirational stories, powerful message, fun conversations, and empowering thoughts with me and my special guests and friends. And now, without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. As a child, she discovered that she had a unique and rare ability to see auras and chakras, but she didn't understand them. The typical spiritual explanations of energy and spirit were just too woo-woo for her taste. Then she spent 10 years teaching high school English, and then when she took her first yoga class, where she learned that body positioning, movement, and breath work impacts aura and chakra changes as much as language does, she spent the next 10 years teaching yoga. In 2006, she met a West African shaman, and in 2009, she was the youngest female to go through the eldership initiation rites. Today, she offers a spirit science approach to being mindful through major life transitions. Her simple and practical step-by-step integrative mindfulness methodology is unprecedented and is based on decades of practice in anatomy, physiology, neuroplasticity, linguistics, chakra, energetics, yoga, meditation, and ancient indigenous wisdoms. She's here today to show you how turning into a butterfly can't be comfortable, but it has got to be amazing. So guys, help me in welcoming the eldership and chakras coach, Teri Leigh. Hi, Teri. Welcome to the show and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I figured Joy with Joyanne is a great way to celebrate my birthday.
Absolutely. And I just didn't know. And I just spoke today, and I believe it's not just a coincidence. So thank you so much for doing this on your birthday. I really appreciate you. And so I don't even know where do I begin with you? So I guess the first thing that I want to talk to you about is about your childhood. I'm just curious to know because, okay, I have two questions. First, why do you think you were able to see and read people's chakra and auras at such a young age, like as a child? Second question, and because you didn't understand the woo-woo stuff, and when and how did you finally start embracing this unique and special gift that you have been granted?
How did I do it as a child? I think we all have the ability because the energy's there and it's available to us. I think that in my childhood, my family was already somewhat a very open-minded and open family anyway. And so it just wasn't turned off by saying, oh, that doesn't exist. but it wasn't something that we entertained much either. However, I think it also might be somewhat genetic, because when I was a little kid, I had an older brother and a younger brother, and both of them had more visceral psychic development type things happen. Like my older brother, when he was like 3 or 4 years old, he would tell my parents at the breakfast table what they were watching on television the night before, after he went to bed, because he would leave his body and astral project and watch TV over their shoulders. And he was like 3 or 4 years old. And they didn't tell him, oh, no, that didn't happen, because he was right. He was telling them exactly what they watched on television. And so they just kind of were open-minded about it and curious, like, how is he doing this? And then my younger brother, when he was like 2 or 3 years old, he would predict who was calling on the phone before we answered.
Wow.
And that was way before the day of caller ID or picking up your phone and looking to see who's there. So like there was one time that we were in the car driving home, and he said, he's like 3 years old in the back seat, and he said, Dad, hurry up and get home. The phone's ringing, and it's Grandma, because Grandpa's in the hospital. And he was right. So both my brothers had these psychic skills, and my parents were curious about them. So mine didn't really start, like I had the ability to see auras and chakras my whole life, but I just never knew it was something special until I was 9 years old. And my parents at that time were like, okay, these kids of ours have really unique skills. We've got to figure out what it is. So they started taking psychic development and intuitive awareness classes. And so they came home from one of these classes when I was 9 years old. And my dad sat down and said, did you know people have energy, like colors coming off of them? It's called an aura. And I just laughed at him like, yeah, Dad, yours is blue right now. And at that point, he was like very curious. And this was the thing. I mean, if I can tell anything to parents, it's look to your children as if they have something to teach you. Because that's what my parents did, is they looked at all three of us kids and said, whatever you're going through that we don't understand, it's a lesson we can learn. So at that point, when I started explaining that I could see things, my dad made me his teacher. He started asking me, what do you see on this person? What do you think that means? And for the rest of my childhood, we would play. We'd be in the grocery store and we'd say, what do you see on that person over there? What do you think that means? What do you see over there? What does that mean? That's how I developed that skill as a child. And it wasn't until I was 9 or 10 that I realized other people couldn't see like I could. But then my father just made it a part of my natural everyday life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And he encouraged me. Yeah.
Mm.
What was your second question? I forgot.
So I think you kind of answered both questions at one shot. Yeah, so the second question was about when do you start embracing this like unique gift? Because initially you didn't understand it or you were rejecting it. But now, hearing from this story, you can't answer the question, like, because your parents, they go and learn about it and then they come back and, share with you to teach them. Yeah. So that is beautiful.
Another piece of that is that when I got to college, I kind of ignored that side of myself for college, and a couple of years after college, when I figured, well, I can't make a living being a chakra reader, and other people think this is weird woo-woo stuff. And so when I went to college, my first love was creative writing, partially because I wanted to be able to use words and language to describe what I could see. And I wanted to be better at communicating what I was seeing. But I also figured, well, you can't make a living as a writer. It's too hard to do that. So I thought I'll be an English teacher. And in those years, that first 10 years of my adult life, I kind of put all that woo-woo psychic energy stuff to the side so that I could focus on being a high school English teacher and focus on my other passion of linguistics and language and poetry and how words are more energetic in their own way. And then in answer to your question, when did I come back to it, was when I went to my first yoga class. And I attended my first yoga class, and it was a class full of mirrors. And up until then, I had never seen auras in mirrors or in pictures. I would only see it live and in person, and I wouldn't see them on myself, because in order to see them on myself, I'd have to see them in a mirror. So I show up to this first yoga class, and it's a wall full of mirrors, and something about the energy of the space and the teacher and me being more clear and more open, I could see them all in the mirrors. And I could see the energy, the aura of the teacher coming out of them in their words. And maybe it's because I spent 10 years studying words and language. I could see their words coming out of their mouth and hitting the students. And then the postures of the students meshing with the words of the teacher. It's like the words of the teacher would hit the student and then form the posture. And then I could see the posture emanating the chakras in different ways. It was a hilarious class because the teacher kept yelling at me to look at my own eyes in the mirror, to look at myself in the mirror. And I'm like, no, there's a laser light show going on here. And it was too exciting to like watch all the stuff going on. And so eventually, a couple of years later, I had to become a yoga teacher so that I could watch the auras without getting in trouble. So then I spent the next 10, 15 years teaching yoga and really making it a science and like a study of what words coming out of my mouth are hitting my students in what ways, and what are the postures doing to their auras. So that's where I really got scientific about it. And like, what is the anatomy and the physiology and the movement going on inside the physical structure of the body that's changing their aura and their chemistry on the energetic? And how do words and the energy of the teacher and the energy of the people in the room impact all that? And so my classroom became my laboratory, as well as my own body in my own practice, and paying attention to the words that my teachers were saying to me, and even my own practice by myself and the words I was saying to myself as I was practicing alone. How did that change my energy and my physicality? And that's where I started to really discover, oh, this is very tangible. I can feel energy in my body if I pay attention to how the words hit me and where they hit me in my body. And that's what I started to teach to my students, is to pay attention. When I say this word, where do you feel it in your body, and how does that change your energy? So now when I talk to clients, I teach them how to pay attention to their bodies and understand the energy of words and the energy of intention and the energy of thought. How does that change the chemistry and the physicality of how you're expressing on the physical?
Right. Let's take a step back right now, because I want to make sure that my listeners, they know what we are talking about, because some of them, they might not have heard of auras or chakras before. So can you, in layman's term, share with us, what does chakra mean and what does aura mean, and why, when you talk about the color, right, what does it represent? Like, what does the color represent?
Right. So that was one of the things I kind of rejected as I was learning about auras and chakras, is all the language was very esoteric and metaphysical and psychic and woo-woo. Like it's just this ethereal energy. And I thought it's got to be more than that. So when I was studying yoga, I understood that it's physical and it's very intertwined with your nervous system. So what I believe is that the chakras are your nervous system. So your nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. And running from your brain through your spinal cord is this whole wiring system of nerves. And those nerves then branch out to all different parts of your body. So the chakras are these intersections of nerves where many nerves kind of come together in almost a three-dimensional roundabout. And all the messages traveling from your brain to your body and your body to your brain go through that roundabout, and they need to reorganize. And if you really think about how the nervous system functions, it comes down to the basic of atoms and molecules and cells, and what the electrical impulses are that go from your brain through your nervous system. All those neurological wirings is atoms and molecules reorganizing themselves. So going back to fifth grade or early science, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's just constantly reorganizing itself. Every atom and molecule that's on this planet now has always been here. It just reorganizes. We're in physical form now, and when we die, we decompose, and that's the atoms and molecules reorganizing. So in our bodies, our nervous system is those atoms and molecules reorganizing on a faster level. And the chakras are places where those atoms and molecules can reorganize themselves more. And there are 7 major chakras along your nervous system. And those major chakras are major intersections along your spinal cord where the nerves branch out. And then each of those 7 chakras and the part of the body that they live in. So for example, we have a heart chakra, which is this energy center where all these nerves come together and reorganize the atoms and molecules to either send the stuff out to your lungs and your heart and your arms and your hands, or to bring it back to your brain and change that chemistry. And it gets changed by your breathing, and it gets changed by your heartbeat, and it gets changed by the thoughts, those electrical impulses going through your body. So that's what a chakra is that it's that place where atoms and molecules reorganize themselves in those electrical impulses. And so if you look at that as almost a light bulb where there's so much electrical energy going on, and the aura is simply the light coming off of that light bulb. And the thing about the aura is that the aura changes with every single thought we have. So here, as I'm sitting across from you, Joyan, your aura is changing with everything you're hearing from me. So I can't describe it because it's too electric. It's too much changing and shifting. It's like watching the northern lights and a sunrise at the same time. And so when someone asks me what color is my aura and what does that mean, I say, I can't tell you because there's too much going on.
Okay.
It's too fast and it's too quick. And it's like trying to tell you what's going on in your head and your heart and your thoughts and your mind and all your history all at once. Because really our nerves not only carry the electrical impulses of what's going on right in this moment, but it's also the wiring and the history of every memory we've ever had is carried in our nervous system. So our entire filing cabinet of every experience we've had in our whole lifetime, plus the electrical wiring and history of all of our ancestors, and the electrical wiring of every atom and molecule that we breathe in. So it's way too massive to comprehend. But the chakras can be understood on a metaphoric and symbolic level. Yeah. So if you look at each of the 7 major chakras and where they live in the body, you look at what that body part does for you. So your legs and feet are your support. That's what you stand on. That's your foundation and your structure. Well, your root chakra is your support, your safety, your foundation, and your structure. So anything in your life related to support and foundation and stability and structure is going to be impacted by your root chakra and how those nerves are functioning. So if you stand on your feet very solid and you make the mental intention to be grounded and rooted in your feet, you're going to send that electrical impulse through your system and change your atoms and molecule structure to make you feel more safe and solid and stable. And then if you're thinking that at the same time, it's going to double that impact. And then we can do that with every chakra. So the sacral chakra is more at the hips and pelvis. And that's about, that part of your body is about giving you flexibility and mobility. If you didn't have hips and pelvis, we'd walk around like really stuck up pigs, not pigs, but stuck up like stick figures without any mobility. We'd be peg legs. So our joints and our hips give us that flexibility. So the sacral chakra is about flexibility and movement and joy and pleasure of going with the flow of things. So I won't go through all 7 chakras, but you get that idea that each body part where the chakra lives has that symbolic nature of what that body part does. And it's because that's where that holds the nerves that govern that part of your life. And that's a great integration of your moods and your emotions and your thoughts with your physicality and your body function.
Well, my question is, okay, for my listeners, if you still have no idea what we're talking about, because it's really hard to visualize, just go and Google chakra. You will see the picture of the human body and the colors of each chakra and the name as well. So because I have done a few chakra readings before with other, psychic or healer, and I want to know, and they will share me, where do I where my block, like which of my chakras are blocked. So what causes a chakra to be blocked? Is it a thought? Is it an experience in the past? Like what causes a chakra? Because I would love to have all my chakra like balanced and opened, and how do I unblock them? Like, so I have like two questions. What causes a chakra to be blocked, and how do we heal them or unblock them? And
First of all, I'm going to emphasize that it's not the word blocked.
Okay.
Because if something were like, think of it like a pipe with water running through it. And if it's blocked, the water can't run through it.
Yeah.
Right. And if the water can't run through it in an electrical wiring system, if there's a short where the electricity can't get through it, then the parts that's not getting the electricity is dead. So if our chakras are blocked completely, that's death of that part of our body.
Okay.
So for example, if someone has a fall and they break their neck and their nervous system is impacted and they're paraplegic, they don't have feeling from the neck down or whatever, there's still energy going through there because those body parts are still alive. They just don't, it's just blocked to some degree. It's not completely blocked.
Okay.
Because they can't feel. So in answer to your question, how do they get blocked? Well, think of it like a traffic circle, like a traffic circle, but it's three-dimensional. If there's too many messages going on in there, and that's going to get a traffic jam, and a traffic jam is going to move slower.
Yeah.
And things are going to have a harder time. So the messages from the brain to the body are going to have a harder time getting through if there's just too much going on. So that's what I would describe as an excessive chakra. There's too much happening there.
Okay.
A deficient chakra is the opposite, where there's not enough. There's not enough energy flow through there. So things just kind of get stagnant and it's kind of depressed in that way. So I don't like to talk about chakras as open or closed or blocked. I like to talk about them as either excessive or deficient.
I love that. Yeah.
And that excessive and deficient is impacted by our thoughts. It's impacted by our prior history and experiences. It's impacted by our ancestry and our DNA and our conditioning. It's impacted by how we were raised as children and those tapes that we play in our minds because we were conditioned that way. It's impacted by what's happened to us physically and how we're using our bodies. So many different things can impact whether a chakra is excessive or deficient or balanced. And it's not really a goal of making our chakras open all the time. It's a goal of making them that they can adjust to the circumstances of our lives to function the way they need to. So for example, the root chakra is about safety, stability, security, foundation. If you are out walking in a shady neighborhood and you've never been there before and there's no lights and you know there's a lot of crime there, you need your root chakra to be higher energy. You need it to turn up so that you are more aware of keeping yourself safe. So you need it to be more excessive in that case. But if you're at home, the doors are locked, you're snuggled with your cat or your dog, and you've got Netflix on and everything's safe and cozy, you don't need that chakra to be up and turned up.
What if someone is staying at home with no physical danger or whatsoever, but they are worrying about future or tomorrow and anxiety about finance, things like that? What is going to happen to their chakra?
So that means that their root chakra is going into excessive when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the ability to adjust to the circumstances that are in the moment. So for example, someone with PTSD, they have a history memory of big loud bangs are not safe. And if they're home snuggled in and they hear a firework going off 6 blocks away, they're going to freak out, even though it's no big deal. That means that their root chakra doesn't know how to calibrate itself. And so it's a practice of mindfulness, of self-talk, and telling your body these messages. No, I am calm. And that's why meditation works for people who are PTSD, it's that sending the message from your brain to your body. It's okay. I'm safe. So there's one way is to work with the meditation and the self-talk. The second way is through breath work, because our breath is the fastest way to change our atom and molecular structures in our bodies. Oxygen comes in, oxygen immediately changes the chemistry of everything going on. And it changes the brain waves and what's happening in your brain. So if you match your breath to an affirmation, and a very clear affirmation, that's going to tell the chakras, which are your nerves, what you need in that moment. And it works both ways. You can speed up your breath and speed up your thoughts to give your chakras more energy. And you can slow down your breath and slow down your words and use very precise words to slow things down, to calm things down. And then you add to that a physical action that matches that intention. So you can get very, very precise. So for example, you're sitting at home and you're worrying about all these things and you're holding on. You find yourself like tightening up all your muscles because you're getting worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. So to calm yourself down, you say that intention, I let go. That's tomorrow. I want to be right here now. As you're saying to yourself, I let go of tomorrow so I can be right here now. That's the intention. You do the breathing of thinking about, I'm breathing right here, right now. And what if then you consciously relax your muscles? So instead of holding your hands gripped and tight, you open them up and you say, I am letting go. I'm letting go of those worries. I'm letting go of those thoughts. I'm opening myself up to this moment right here. And as you open your hands, you exhale, that exhale is also a letting go. Do that for 5, 6, 7 breaths. The more you do it, the more your nervous system is going to receive that message. And you can calm yourself down in the moment. Now, if you do that kind of exercise when you don't need it, so when you're not worried and focused, but you're teaching yourself this is how to let go when you don't need it, then it's more likely that your nervous system will have the pattern to do it when you do need it. And your chakra will automatically go back to that state because you've taught it. This is the state of being relaxed and calm and letting go.
Yeah. I know you also talk about affirmations and manifestation. So why most of the affirmations, I would say, that people are using, are practicing, are not working? And I tried before, it doesn't work for me. So I stopped doing it altogether. So how can you, can you share with us, because I know you're an expert in this field as well, the linguistic of affirmations, and how do they actually manifest and how does it work in manifestation?
Let me offer you 3 examples. I'm going to start with an example of a very popular affirmation that I've heard on TikTok. So this has gone viral on TikTok many, many times. I don't chase, I attract.
Yeah.
Right? But what your brain hears is not chasing. So your brain hears the word chasing and your brain hears the word attracting. So what you're creating there is a game of cat and mouse. Because our brain doesn't recognize the word not until we add it in. So our brain will hear the word chase and think chase, and then you have to say, I'm chasing, but I'm not chasing. So it's creating this essence of chase and then not chase and then attracting. So you're really creating this game of chasing and attracting by saying, I don't chase, I attract. It would be much better to just simply say, I am attracting. I am a magnet. And repeat that over and over again.
Okay.
So part of it is that we almost make our affirmations too complex.
Right.
They're so much better if they're 3 to 5 words max. And then you have to be very careful about making them precisely what you mean to say. So then that leads me to a second example. You have to be very careful about your own personal connotations about that word. So I had a client who was trying to tell herself that she was beautiful. And she kept using the word beautiful. I am beautiful, I'm beautiful, but I don't believe I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, every time she heard the word beautiful, her brain was remembering times in her childhood when she would hear other people be called beautiful and she wasn't. So she was then in her childhood thinking she was ugly because others were beautiful. So her brain recognized that dichotomy of beauty and ugly. And so when she was saying, I am beautiful, she was actually affirming, I'm ugly, because her brain was recognizing that pattern from her childhood of other things are beautiful, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to take it on the connotation of the actual word, but then you have to take it on the connotation of how your nervous system receives that word. So for her, I changed the phrase. Rather than saying, I am beautiful, I asked her, how does it feel in your body when you say, I am precious? And it totally changed everything, because then it wasn't about physicality and it was about her recognizing her internal value, which she did believe in. And then her internal value and emphasizing and affirming that changed everything for her. My third example is another very common affirmation that women in our culture say today. I am a strong, independent woman. Very powerful affirmation. We hear it everywhere on all the dating shows and everything. I am a strong, independent woman. So I had a woman come to me as a client and she said, I'm in my 50s. I've raised two amazing kids by myself as a single mom. I've built my career from nothing up to being a CFO of two companies. I am a strong, independent woman and I'm not feminine. And I'm ready to embrace more of that feminine. I've worked in the corporate world. I've had to be masculine. I've had to be powerful. And I said to her, you've been affirming strong independence, and that's a very masculine energy. And that strong independence worked for you because you were independent, taking care of these kids by yourself. You didn't want a partner. And you were very strong, which is a very masculine energy. And now, as you're hitting your 50s and you're hitting menopause, you're asking for femininity. You're not going to get that with the phrase strong independent. The strong independent has too many T's and D's, which are very punchy sounds. I said, instead, let's use the phrase, I am a phenomenal woman, which is based on Maya Angelou's poem. And I gave her the homework. I said, read out loud, phenomenal woman, every day for a week, as you do this specific breathing that I showed you, that I taught you, and move your body in this specific feminine way that I've taught you while you're reading the poem. And I explained to her that the F, M, and N sounds in phenomenal and in woman is very feminine, but it's also powerful, but it's not masculine and punchy powerful. It's flowing, feminine, powerful. Everything changed for her. A week later, she called me and she said, I have never bought a flowy dress. And I just found myself in a department store buying a flowy dress and wearing it to work the next day. And I got more compliments than I've ever gotten in my life in one day. And I received those compliments as a woman, not as a corporate powerhouse, not as boss bitch, but as a feminine woman. The reason our affirmations aren't working is because we're phrasing them wrong and because they're hitting our nervous system wrong.
Okay, so I have a few questions here. So the first example that you gave, I'm so curious. It's about I'm attracting. So you say instead of saying I don't chase, I attract. You say I'm attracting. I am a magnet. Then the second example that you have given is about. You also talk about you have to be specific in your affirmation. So should we say that I'm attracting a relationship, I'm attracting money? Should we say that, or I'm just saying I'm attracting?
Yes and yes. The first thing is, when you say I'm attracting something specific, you have to activate something in your nervous system that already believes it's there.
Yeah.
Because how affirmations work is that a seed is planted and then it grows. And if you don't believe it's already there, there's nothing to grow. There's no seed. So you have to find something inside yourself that you already have that you want to grow more. So if you keep saying, I'm attracting the perfect partner,
Yeah.
and you don't have anything like that in your life, your brain will start to focus on the lack rather than the abundance.
Yeah.
So if you, in that case, you might want to shift it back and just say, I attract healthy relationships. And then you focus on a relationship that you already have that is healthy. And then as you focus on that, that will grow because you'll become more aware of that growing and attracting more. There's a part of your brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is the part of your brain that's a filter. Just like I said, there's like way too much information going on in your nervous system for me to be able to read it in auras. There's way too much information going on in the nervous system for you to be able to comprehend it consciously. Most of the impulses we take in from the world is put back in filing cabinets in our brain. We don't even pay attention. We don't even know. It's just filed away as this is important information that we'll deal with later. The RAS filters that out. But the RAS determines what's important for us to keep in front of our minds based on how we were conditioned, what our genetics said, and then what we choose to make important. And that's the only part we can really control, is what we choose to make important. So the easiest example to show you of how the RAS works with your chakra system is that I was playing a game with my nephew called Score. Every time we'd go driving, every time you see a yellow car, you say score. I got a point. I saw a yellow car. The first few weeks of playing that game, I'd only see 1 or 2 yellow cars. But after 3, 4, 5 weeks of that, I was seeing 6, 7, 30 yellow cars in a half-hour drive. The yellow cars are always there. They've always been there. It's just that my brain hasn't paid attention to them. So as soon as I started saying, I want to see yellow cars, the RAS made a flip in my brain. My RAS said, oh, that's important to you. I'm going to start making you pay attention. Every time a yellow car shows up, your brain is going to recognize it consciously as important. So that's how affirmation would work. If you decide that something's important and you want to grow more of that, then you want to say that over and over again, and your brain will start to recognize, oh, you're saying that's important, so I will show that it's everywhere in your world. Because it's always been there. You just haven't noticed.
So by repeating those affirmations to ourselves day in, day out, we are actually telling our brain that this is important. You better go and find that thing for me.
Right. And it's not that it's there, you're needing to find it. It's always there. You just haven't seen it. It's like you're blind to it because you've been looking at other things.
Right. This is really fascinating. I've been trying to think, like, why in the past it didn't work for me? Yeah. Because I had no idea. I just thought in general affirmations just don't work. Like, that is my conclusion, right? And I'm not the only one who is saying that. So for example, a lot of people, they're saying, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. But again, at the back of their mind, you are not happy. Like, stop lying to yourself, you are not happy. Or people say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. But you only have like a few $100s in your bank account. How can you be rich? So how do we actually really like attract things that we don't already have?
You have to change the language so that your brain thinks it's something you already have. So maybe it's like that woman who was using the word beautiful and she needed to use the word precious. If you're saying, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, and you're focusing on other people being happy and you're not having it, your brain is noticing the scarcity of it. So it's a little flip of the switch. Well, let's get rid of the word happy and let's come up with a synonym and a memory in your system that, well, I am happy when I have this, and it's not happiness, it's joy. Or instead of using the word happy, use the word bubbly. Find a word that evokes the feelings in your system. So that's what I do with my clients. Is many of my clients come to me, they're saying my affirmations aren't working, and I take them through a process of figuring out what words are triggering what emotions in their systems and saying, oh, that word doesn't work for you. Let's find one that does. And I use my linguistics language of knowing what letters and what phrases, like I did with Phenomenal Woman, to come up with a word or a phrase that does trigger the right sensations in your system. Because you want to have a word hit you in a way that it evokes the feelings. And if you're evoking those feelings, repeating that word, it's because you already had that feeling in you. It just needed to be woken up.
Yeah. Because
and then attaching a physical action to that. And that's my methodology. That's what I call the Mosey method. It's a science, and it's not something that people can really easily do on their own all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So because manifestation is about this, what I learned after interviewing so many guests, it's all about emotion. You have to feel it, right? Like as though you already have the thing that you want to manifest. So because the universe, they don't respond to your word, but they respond to your emotion, right? That's what you attract. So, okay, let's talk about your Mosey method, because that is another question that I want to talk about. So, and my question is not a question, it's actually a request. Is it possible to guide us through the exercise? I know it's an exercise, live on this show with my listeners, with me.
Sure.
Cool. Love it. Let's do it.
And I actually did show you one already. So let's have you do it.
Me.
So think of something that you want to let go, that you no longer need in your life, that you're ready to release. Now, as you're thinking of that thing, I see your eyes going up. So that's where in your brain that you're holding it. So put your eyes there. Put your eyes where you were seeing it.
Okay.
And start breathing really deep through the back of your nose. And when I say through the back of your nose, it's almost a snore. So you feel a little tickle at the back of your throat. That little snore will help your nervous system calm down. And as you're looking there and focusing on the thing you want to release, start saying to yourself, I release.
I release.
Just, I release. And on every exhale,
I release.
Say the word release, because that sound, release, the E sound is almost like air seeping out of a balloon and letting things go, just letting it, it's just slipping away. And as you do that, take your hands as fists, and every exhale, I release.
I release.
So keep thinking of that thing. I release, let it go.
I release.
And you can feel it gently, softly going where it needs to go.
I release.
And so right now you've done that 4 or 5 breaths. You've released a piece of it and you're not feeling so tight about it. Correct?
Yeah.
How do you feel right now?
Well, I think it's also because part of it is also because we are live on this show. So I'm still like thinking, right? I'm still in my mind. And I'm trying to think like, there's so many things I want to release. Like, which one should I choose? So yeah, I'm very analytical. And so yeah, part of it, I could feel like I'm releasing it, but of course I would have to do it offline later, when I'm on my own. But
yes.
Is it possible to do it on our own, or we have to have a guide or teacher or mentor guiding us?
No, you could do it by yourself.
Okay.
But the harder part is, how do you find that precise language?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's why people come to me specifically, because if you're not using the right language, it may not work. You might be evoking the wrong feeling.
Exactly.
And it's also very important that you realize doing it once is just a teeny tiny piece.
Yeah.
I tell my clients, do it 50 times a day. But you can do that while you're driving, just one hand while you're driving, while you're walking down the street. When you're washing your hands, you can think of the water washing all that stuff away from you. So if you wanted to let something go, every single time you go to the bathroom and you wash your hands, you think about washing that off of you. I don't need it anymore. I'm washing it off. And you breathe and you think, I wash it off. I let it go. I release.
Right. So in order to attract something, doesn't mean that we have to release what we don't need, or the belief that is holding us back from getting what we want.
In order to attract, your hands have to be open to receive.
Yeah.
If you're like this, holding on to something, and you're holding on to what you want so bad, then you can't take something else in. And that's metaphor, but it's also how your system functions. If you're getting all tight and anxious because you want to attract something, you're not open to receive it. So you've got to relax your system and make yourself open to receive what you want to attract. So in order to use the I attract affirmation, you have to make yourself open as if you're receiving a hug. You're ready, you're willing, you're open to receive whatever it is that you've asked for. You already have it in you.
Yeah. I think I like the word open more than attract. Yeah, so I'm gonna use I'm open instead of I'm attracting. I see how it goes.
And you see how right there is an example of how it works for you individually. We have to find the right word that feels the right way in us. For one client, it might be the word attract. For another client, it might be the word magnet. For another client, it might be open. Another client, it might be receive. Or we might have to play with synonyms of each of those words to find a unique word that fits better. And the more unique the word, the more powerful it is too. Sometimes words have been so overused that they kind of lose their power. A very common one is abundance. We see abundance as an affirmation out there so much that it's lost its meaning.
That's true.
And riches is another one. I am rich. And that makes us feel like we're talking about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. But yeah, one of the ones I've been playing with for myself in terms of wealth and abundance is I've been saying, I am a water cycle of wealth. And that's affirming that I don't want to be a money grubber. I don't want to have millions and millions of dollars in my bank account. I want money to come and go through me. It's here when I need it, and I spend it and I give it and it comes back to me. So I am a water cycle of wealth. And I think of money as a water flow.
Yeah, because it has to flow, right? You can't just save and save or spend and spend. It has to flow. Abundance is flowing, as you know.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm learning so much, and it wasn't what I was expecting when I do my research. I have so many other questions that I'll talk about, but I feel like today this is our focus and like affirmations, because I don't think many talk about this. They teach about affirmations. They don't really teach about the science behind affirmation and how it actually works. So before we move on to our final section of the podcast, do you have anything that you really want to talk about? Perhaps I didn't ask you or didn't let you.
I've just had so much fun. So I'm following your lead, just like the water cycle of wealth. It's a flow. So keep asking the questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna end with our final 5 rapid fire questions. So these are the 5 questions that I ask all my guests at the end of every episode. And it's rapid fire, so every question has to be answered in 1 word or 1 sentence maximum.
Okay.
The first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Breath. The power of breath.
Love it. Powerful. Second question. If you could live your life all over again, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
I knew it.
I love my life. All the good, all the bad, all the ugly. It brought me to who I am now. And I love it's my birthday. Come on.
Yeah.
I've had a great life.
Yeah, thank you so much for being who you are and doing all the work that you are doing today. The third question. What is something you're trying to learn or curious about right now?
Herbalism. I'm really curious about plants and how they change our system and how we can work with herbs as medicine.
Oh, interesting. The next question is, if you have 5 minutes and the whole world was listening to you, what would you say?
I would teach them how to breathe. If everyone breathed deeper and fuller, the world would be peaceful.
Yeah, we are breathing like all the time, but we are not aware of our breathing, right? Yeah, which is why mindfulness is so key. And thank you so much again for teaching this. The last question is, what brings you joy?
Bubbles.
Bubbles. Okay.
I think my word for joy is bubbles. And so anything that gives me that bubbly feeling is joy. And bubbles.
I love your reaction. When I just talk about joy, you just like, yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for taking your time out in your morning on your birthday. And I'm sure a lot of people, they are intrigued by our conversation. They want to get to know you more, or want to learn from you, or want to work with you. Where can I send people to you?
My website is terileigh.com, and that's spelled differently. So you can also find me on chakrascoach.com. It's the same website. So chakrascoach or terileigh.com. And that's where you can book an appointment, where you can get your own assessment of what your perfect affirmation is, and then how I work with you to learn to calibrate and adjust your chakras one by one.
Beautiful. All right, guys. I hope you love this episode. Go follow Teri, go to her website. She has got a lot of free resources for you as well. Connect with her, book a call with her, check out all the amazing things that she is doing. I will put all her links in the show note below, so make sure you go and check it out. And to connect with me, follow me on Instagram at joanne.chan to see what I'm up to. And we release new episode every Wednesday, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode with me and my awesome guests. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you with every other episode. Show up. The world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning to Find Joy with Joanne podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can help support this podcast in one of three ways. 1. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your IG story and tag me at findjoyjoanne_podcast so I can repost and connect with you. 2. Share this podcast with a friend or a family member. And 3. Leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts so we can continue to grow and reach more listeners worldwide. Make sure you also subscribe so you don't miss out on any episode coming Wednesday. Thanks for being here, and I will see you soon in the next episode.